Hey, hello friends, welcome to my channel. In this Python beginner tutorial series, today let's discuss about strip method in Python. Okay, the strip method is very widely used in Python strings. So whenever you work with strings, the strip method becomes very handy. Believe me, you will use this strip method very often whenever you work with strings. The reason is because you might be put in a situation where you have to clean your string or like clean your data. In those kind of situation, the strip method becomes very handy. The implementation of this method is very easy, but at times it might be confusing. Okay, so let's see with few examples so that you will understand how to use strip, lstrip and rstrip. Lstrip means trimming from the left side, rstrip means trimming from the right side. Okay, let's see all these things with definitions and examples. All right, so if we start looking at the definition of strip method, the strip method returns a copy of the string by removing both the leading and trailing characters based on the string argument passed. Okay, the strip method will return a string. So you pass a string, it will return a string as well. Okay, it will remove the leading and trailing characters based on the string that we have, based on the argument that we have passed. Okay, so if you look at this particular example I have given here, so x equal to Python programming language. So one important thing to note here is I have given some spaces before and after the actual characters, right? So there are leading spaces and trailing spaces too. So this kind of situations will come very often in real-time programming. So that's why strip method will be very useful. Okay, all you need to do is just if you use a strip method against a string, here x.strip, it will remove all the leading and trailing spaces. Okay, let's see an example. The same example, let's try it in our PyCharm. So I have the same example. I have a string called x equal to Python programming language with leading and trailing spaces. Now let's use this strip method, x.strip. I am not passing any argument, it will be blank. Okay, so if I want to print the value, so I'm using print function. So print. Now if I run this, yeah, it returned me Python programming language by removing the leading and trailing spaces. You can see the output in the console has removed the trailing and leading spaces present here. Okay, so this is how you can use a strip method by default. Okay, this is one way of using. Another way of using is you can pass some arguments within the strip method, right? You can pass some characters as an argument. For example, let's try to pass something called if I want to remove py, the first two characters of the string, right? Py. So here one important thing to notice, I have left some space before my actual characters, right? So now if I run this, it removed py from the actual string and it also removed the leading and the trailing spaces. Okay, so this is something very important too. Like sometimes it might be confusing, so if you follow it very closely, it is very easy to understand. Okay, so I have left a space before, which means remove all the words that is prefixed by space and characters py. Okay, that's what this value, this argument in the strip method is all about. For example, if we want to remove it from the last, then we can do something like this, ge and space. Here we have ge, right? So if it is followed by space, now if I run this Python programming language, you can see the last two characters is removed and also the prefixed and trailing spaces are also removed. Okay, this is one way of using strip method. And yeah, I forgot to inform about other thing. If you remove the space in the actual argument, right, I'm just giving ge by removing the space. Previously I had some space here. If we are not giving any space, it means it will not remove anything. Okay, so there is even though it has word ge at the last, it will not remove unless and until you are giving some spaces here. Okay, you can see it did not remove the trailing and leading spaces too. The leading space also remain, the trailing space also remains. Okay, so it is important to give some space or any character based on the condition that you need. Okay, so this is all about strip method. Okay, And next let's see about lstrip and rstrip. Okay, before going to lstrip and rstrip, let me show you a definition. Okay, the definition is nothing but it's just the reflection of the example I show you, the example that I've shown you, right? That's what I've given as a definition here. So you can pass the screen and just watch through this if you want to understand a definition clearly. All right. And yeah, these are the examples that we saw, right? So examples I've just put it down in the slide. So if you want to look at this also, you can look at it. And finally we'll see what is lstrip and rstrip. Lstrip means, as the name indicates, L stands for left. This lstrip method returns a copy of the string with leading characters removed based on the string argument that is passed. Okay, so here in this same example we gave, for example, we gave py, right? So what happened? It removed py and it also removed the leading and trailing spaces, right? This is how it worked with strip. If I use lstrip, okay, if I use lstrip, what it will do is it will remove the space before it and the space after the character at the right hand side will still remain. Okay, if you now look at the console, you can see the spaces from the beginning is removed and the character py is also removed, but the space at the right hand side, the trailing spaces, still remain the same. Okay, if you want something like this, you can definitely go with lstrip method. Okay, it will remove the characters and the spaces that is preceding your actual string. Okay, this is how you can use lstrip. Similarly, if you can try many things, like if you want to give ge, okay, it will still remain the same because nothing is there, right? The space remains same. Space at the right hand side still remain the same, but since you given lstrip, the leading spaces got removed, right? We had leading spaces, right? But here the leading space got removed. Okay, so this is another example. And what else? Yeah, you can remove the space and try something like this. Now if you really note, right, since we have not given any spaces, even though we are using lstrip, the space is not removed in the leading characters before the string, right? Previously, when we used lstrip, it will remove the spaces, leading spaces, right? Now it is not removing anything because we have not given any space in our character argument. Okay, so this is how you will work with lstrip. Similarly, we have something called rstrip. Rstrip is it's just the opposite of lstrip. Rstrip method returns a copy of the string with trailing characters removed based on the string argument passed. Alright, here we had leading characters removed, here we have trailing characters removed. Okay, let's see another example here. So let's have rstrip. Now let's give something called py. Now you can see, since I'm using the rstrip method, it will remove or trim all the spaces that is trailing at the last. Okay, see, if I select this, you can see the trailing spaces are removed, right? Similarly, if you want to use ge, the trailing spaces is also removed, right? So this, as I said, rstrip is just the opposite of lstrip. In the lstrip, it will remove all the leading spaces. In the rstrip, it will remove all the trailing spaces. Okay, if you want to try out something like py, right, you can see all the values at all the spaces at the right hand side removed, but this character still remain because it is preceding, right? It is at the beginning, right? But if you give something like this, ge and space, it will remove the ge. Okay, so what else example? If you remove the space, nothing will happen, right? As we see, it is really important for you to provide space in the character argument, right? So Yeah, just to recap, strip method will return a copy of the string. The first way is without passing any argument. If you give a string, it will remove all the leading and trailing spaces. But if you provide an argument, based on the argument you provided, it will remove the specific characters for you. You can try out these examples to understand this better. Okay, and lstrip means it removes all the leading spaces and the character argument that we have provided from the left hand side, and rstrip will remove it on the right hand side. This is on the leading side, leading characters. This is on the trailing characters. Okay, so this might be a little confusing at times, so I would suggest you to try out few examples and let me know if you have any queries in the comment section. All right, so that's all what I want to cover as part of this video, guys. If you really like this video, please subscribe and follow my channel. Thank you.